Police officers of Reddit. What is the funniest arrest you have made on the job? No one got arrested, but we didn't have animal control in our base, so the MPs and DOD police were the ones who dealt with strays and such. One day, one of the busiest roads on the base was completely blocked because a huge snapping turtle took up residence in the middle of the road and refused to move for anyone. One of the DOD police officers used his nightstick to push the turtle off the road. Just as they got to the grass, this huge snapping turtle shoots his neck out at lightning speeds and grabs the nightstick out of the DOD cop's hand and starts waddling off into the woods. 2 seconds later, I hear my squad leader key up the microphone. 101, be advised. Suspect is now armed and attempting to flee. Hilarious. Also, hooray for the internet, or would I be missing the tip of my nose? A couple of weeks ago, I saw a video showing some guy getting royally bitten by a sizable snapping turtle. The next day, ironically World Turtle Day, I went riding and came across a fair-sized painted turtle crossing the bike path. I picked it up, and as my hands transported it closer to my face so I could take a closer look at his retracted head, my brain went, wait, you idiot. Remember that video from yesterday? Do you want to lose your nose? So I thought better of it. Put it on a wooden pole and took a couple shots and then placed it on the grass in the same direction it was heading. This is the one that comes to mind. Call for a loud house party. Showed up and contacted a resident. Advised that I was well aware that there were underage kids drinking. Told them to get sober drivers and kick the kids out. We get another call to the area. I gave them one more chance. Third time is because of a fight in the front lawn. I've had it. Officers are interviewing involved parties out front. I'm walking around the back looking for stragglers. Back door comes flying wide open and about a half dozen kids come running out of the house. Stop! Police and all that jazz. Kids obviously keep running, so I announce that I'm on a foot chase and start after them. I'm catching up to the person in the back of the group when, out of the blue, he stops and sits on the stone bench in the neighbor's garden. Looks to me and says, "Oh, good evening. I think they went that way." Completely shocked, I ask, "Are you high?" "Why, yes." Yes, it was. Dispatcher rather than a cop for the story. We received a call from one of the lifestyle blocks on the edge of the town I was working, with the residents saying that there was someone in their paddock stealing one of their horses. I dispatched the unit to go have a look. The way dispatching worked was we'd give a priority code and a job code. A numerical code, what the job was they were going to. 245, this is VKR. You're proceeding to the address for 204 stealing, priority 3, non-urgent. Roger, VKR 245 proceeding code 3 on a 204. Time passes. VKR 245 off at address. More time passes. Then a voice comes on the radio, completely unintelligible. After about 3 attempts they managed to get out. VKR, this is 245, go ahead. Yeah, this isn't 204, this is 405608. Me and the other dispatcher looked at each other in confusion. Those aren't job codes we use at all. We pulled out a quick reference sheet, 405608, that's sexual assault, stock related. Needless to say, the gentleman in question hadn't been stealing the horse. Sometimes I get bored and listen to the dispatch radio from my county. One day, while listening, they started saying something like, "Suspect took a right down the 3rd, so I thought that there might be a chance it was my street. Ran downstairs, out to that front porch to watch for a car chance." A few minutes pass when I'm about to give up and go inside when I hear sirens. About a minute later, I see a guy in boxers on a horse going down the street, followed by a couple officers on foot and a car. Turns out there was a drug house disguised as a farm that breeds horses just out of town. There was a drug raid and the guy ran on one of the horses. I hate to be the not me but person, but this story is too funny not to tell. When my mom was working at the sheriff's department, God, over 20 years ago now, they got a 911 call from a girl who said the gas station she worked at was in the process of being robbed. The girl was calm, told the officers she wasn't in danger, but that they shouldn't take too long getting there. They were intrigued and weren't sure what they would be faced with when they got there. What they didn't expect was to pull up, see the girl sitting on the curb smoking a cigarette, and the robber sitting inside the locked up gas station with a look of utter defeat on his face. Here was the girl's statement, which the robber corroborated when questioned. He came into the gas station, went to the register, demanded that the girl empty it. He hinted that he had a gun, and when the girl realized this was a real deal, she started to think. She offered to get a bag from the back room to put money into, hoping he'd agree so she could grab the phone and call the cops. Surprisingly, he did, and he didn't follow her. So not only did she grab the phone, she grabbed the keys and went out the back door, locking it behind her. Then she ran out to the front and locked the door, effectively sealing the building. She then slowly and purposefully showed the man she was dialing 911. Watched them fruitlessly try to break the glass. The gun was fake. Then she waited for the cops to show up. My mom always said that she had never before and has never since laughed so hard while on duty. A fellow call taker went on a ride along a month or so ago. They come across a car swerving all over the road. Obviously something is up, so they pull the guy over. She said the first thing they notice is that the guy is high as tits. Pop smoking pouring out the window, eyes perfectly narrowed and bright as a devil's butt. Officer asks the man to step out of the car. He can't though, he's paraplegic. Driving a car. Not a car meant for paraplegics. And controls. Turns out he's decided to take a broom handle along for the ride, and he's using that to operate gas and brake pedals. Even better is that he's driving on a suspended license for doing the exact same thing a few times before. I don't mean to start any trouble here, but one of my former employees was an ex-Navy SEAL, ex-LAPD. He told me that folk on PCP was the worst. He left about a couple arrests about people on drugs, but had terrible memories of people on PCP. Due to the nature that an athletic man on large amounts of PCP cannot be subdued by traditional force like tasers, and will have greatly increased violent strength. He said more than once that people on PCP holding weapons would be gripping them so tight that their own hands were bleeding and they wouldn't know. However, he said his favorite was a naked man running around in clown shoes. Mostly because his fat partner at the time couldn't catch him for the life of him, and it was a fat cop chasing a high naked man running in clown shoes. Let me tell you the story about the case of the missing turds. I'm friends with a senior detective in Adelaide, Australia. We have a beer every now and then when he comes into the pub I drink at. Of course, I've asked them about strange and funny cases. This is the best one. Officers at a local station had been repeatedly informed about vandalism at a block of public toilets. For weeks, someone had been deliberately blocking them by stuffing wads of dunny paper into them. Initially, it sounded like some bored kids in general. But it kept happening. Uniform were wasting valuable time on writing up cases of vandalized dunnies. So my mate tells a couple of detectives just to wait out there one night and see who the serial dunny blocker-upper was. They didn't have to wait long. Sometime after 11 p.m., a weaselly-looking middle-aged man began hanging around, going in and back out, hiding from anyone who came to use the shit. This continued for a couple hours, whereupon he was observed to exit the dunny block, man's own, with a plastic shopping bag stuffed full. The man was known to police, so they decided to let him go and then visit him at home. Bad mistake. So when they turned up at his home some hours later, there is an appalling stench emanating from him. Knocked on the door, called out, no answer. So one of them tried the door, which was unlocked. That officer had made a grave error. He opened the door to the third burglar's lair. And where he was, the third burglar himself, on the floor of the front laundry room, fucking the bags of shit he had harvested from the dummies. They were everywhere, each one having a little hole in it where he f***ed it. Don't know what happened next. I was laughing too hard to listen, but in short, they were faced with a naked man covered in balls deep in a fresh bag he had collected. He'd been blocking up the toilet so he could harvest the turds that people couldn't flush. Ingenious, I suppose.